Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm working on another quick and easy card, so get comfy and let's get crafty. A couple weeks ago, months ago, something like that ago, I made a wedding card with some heat embossing and ink resisting. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be using this Hero Arts Pink Fresh Studio stamp as well as the Honeybee stamps, Inside and Out Wedding Sentiments. I have my Versamark ink, my white embossing powder, my Misty stamp positioner, including the sticky mat so that I can work on putting this card front together. So on the previous card, I did a gold on dark blue, a rose gold on dark blue with some ink blending. This time I'm going to do a little bit of white heat embossing and tone-on-tone ink blending as well. I really liked how that card turned out. So when I needed to make a wedding card for my nephew and his new bride, I thought, why not do that again? This time maybe a little less tone-on-tone, a little more of dramatic is maybe the right word. I don't know. Anyway, this is a collaboration between Hero Arts and Pink Fresh Studio. The name of the stamp set is, it's on my desk somewhere here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it is called, sorry, that was a lot of extra. It is called You Make a Difference. And I picked this up at Joann's a while ago, like, I don't know, 6 months or so ago or better. And I'm going to use my sticky mat inside my Misty to keep that paper in place. I don't want to put it down in the corner because this is a full panel stamp and I want to be able to stamp off the edge just a little bit. So I'm inking that up with Versamark ink. One thing I think if I had a do-over on this, I would use white pigment ink instead of VersaFine because I'm using that white embossing powder. And I think that generally you get a little bit better embossing results on colored cardstock with white embossing powder if you use a white pigment ink. Something I've been experimenting with lately that I had forgotten that I could even do. So, you know, I did ink up that stamp twice and I'm going around it and I am not mashing it down because it is a fine detailed image, but I am, you saw me around and round and round in circles. And once I think I have that stamp stamped enough, I'm going to remove the card panel from the sticky mat by bending the sticky mat. That way my card panel doesn't turn. Now, another thing, if I ever did this again, I would use an entire half of a sheet of cardstock because this isn't all, covers the entire panel. Where am I going to put my fingers? So I found a little corner where I could stick my tweezers to hold the card panel while I'm adding the embossing powder, as well as while I am heat setting that embossing powder. So I just have a plastic spoon here, and this is why right here I would use a larger sheet of paper. I had to stick my fingers in the very middle of that where there is no stamping to add the embossing powder. And I'm adding it in large spoonfuls, letting it sit, and then tipping it upright and tapping it off. There is a little bit of powder in the center of that card panel, probably from where I stuck my thumb. I did pre-treat the card panel with my Rabbit Hole Designs anti-static powder tool, but I put my thumb there in the middle of that to shift the cardstock. So now I'm going to go ahead and heat up my heat gun and heat set that. I did have to move things around. And when you're heat setting embossing powder, you only heat set it until it's shiny. If you continue to add heat after it's all melted, it will melt down and kind of dimple and then get dull. So now that I have that done, I'm using the Honeybee Stamps Inside and Out Wedding Sentiment stamp set. And I'm stamping congratulations in the middle, but it didn't really go in the middle. So after I stamped congratulations, I added the phrase with love to try and make it look like it was intentionally off center. I am putting anti-static powder on the center of my card. And my anti-static powder tool just kind of like full on fell apart right there in my hands. I don't even know. It was a day. So this wedding reception was part of our huge family road trip this last month. And I got to see my nephew and his new bride and meet her parents. It was kind of neat and fun. It was like the last thing on our itinerary as we headed home. So it was kind of a nice way to start that trip home. Anyway, I am stamping again with VersaFine ink. I use VersaFine ink because it stays sticky for a while and it will grab onto that embossing powder. And now that I have that stamped, I can go ahead and heat set that. My heat tool is still warm, so it doesn't take quite as long. Plus it's, less surface area. I mean, hello. If you wonder if your image has been heat set all the way, tilt it into the light a little bit. And if it is not shiny, if you get some kind of weird, not cohesive look to it, you're probably have not missed a section. In fact, I missed that top left corner right there. I heat set it enough that the powder wasn't going anywhere, but it was not completely melted. So I did have to go back and fix that. Once, I noticed it as I was heat setting this second sentiment. So this is where I added the with love part of my sentiment. And I did put heat powder over that corner that it was not stamped very well. So yeah, there were things I had to fix, and even, okay. So when I edit my videos, I tend to edit out the things that are repetitive or not necessary to the how I did this card part, including sometimes when I fix my boo-boos. So you can see that left side was also another area that I did not heat set very well. So I'm adding some more heat powder, heat embossing powder to it. After I heat set this, I still did not like it. So off camera, I stuck it back into my MISTI, and very luckily, I remembered where on my sticky mat I had placed that cardstock so I could put it back in. And I just restamped it and did the whole thing again. I did edit that out because it was repetitive, and I thought I could explain to you what I had done without showing you again. I did need to trim this down just a little bit. I wanted it to be 4 by 5 1/4 inches as opposed to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And now we're going to take a coordinating ink color. So this is a Stampin' Up! Paper and a Stampin' Up! Ink because that's what most of my full-size ink pads are. Because that's when I started, right? I have lots of other inks, but right now, that's what a lot of my stuff is. And it works, and it's going to stay in my collection until it doesn't work anymore. But I'm only ink blending around the outside edges. So I'm not going into that center. I'm kind of creating that center halo effect. And I think it looks awesome. So my card base is supposed to be a landscape card base. And my camera's wigging out, sorry. I cut my cardstock, not the traditional way you would cut for a landscape card base. So this is a landscape card, but it opens on the left instead of the top, which is just another little fun thing about homemade or handmade cards, is that you can make them open any way you want. Now, to make sure that my embossing powder is clean, or my embossed areas are clean, I'm just taking a regular old Kleenex tissue. It's actually a Puffs Plus because that's my preferred brand, but whatever. And I'm running that over the embossed images to get all of that extra ink, because the ink pools up on that embossing because it is non-porous. It's basically plastic. So once I had that all wiped down, I added 3D foam tape to the back of my card panel, and I'm going to put that onto the front of my card. The card base is the same color as the cardstock I stamped and ink blended on. The sentiment still looks a little wonky about, not being in the middle. I don't even know. I don't even know. I'm going to add a piece of pattern paper. Oh my goodness. White copy paper to the inside of the card so I can stamp a sentiment inside as well as write a little note. And the inside sentiment I'm using is again from that Honeybee Stamps Inside Wedding Sentiments stamp set. And I just chose one that said something about, let me see if I can find what it says, if I have it on my desk still. I don't know, it's on my desk because I didn't clean it up before we left, and then I came home and everything was still on my desk. So, you know, it is what it is. It says something about it's really exciting to see our family grow. Okay. I have an extremely large extended family. I am one of 10 siblings. My husband is one of 7 siblings. All of our siblings have significant others and or children. So we have a large extended family. And it is really fun to continue to see that family get larger. I think it's fun. I don't know. So I'm just stamping that down using light pressure but repeated pressure. Over that I used Versaclear Nocturne Black ink because it stamps beautifully. And here we're going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see that ink blending and the halo it creates. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know the voiceover was a little rusty. I'm getting back into life after vacation. I have added links to a couple of other videos here that I think you will like. I've also added that subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. Let YouTube know you like the channel. And I hope you have a really fabulous day.